Casual observers of Kenya politics and casual political analysts of Kenyan politics saw a handshake coming between Ruto and Raila. Now, is it possible for these same casual observers of our politics to do a good analysis of what today's game-changing rally at Kamukunji was all about? You tell me. Because the initial reaction I'm getting from many is that since nothing has changed, Raila is not in State House. The Kamukunji mega rally today was of no consequence. Hakuna kitu ilifanyika. Kweli? Are you sure? Well, let's get into a few solid points of what unfolded at Kamukunji. Number one, Raila Odinga and Azimio do not recognize Mr. William Samoei Ruto as President of Kenya. What does that mean? Well, for starters, the 8.1 million Kenyans who voted Azimio, ditto, also do not recognize the current regime. Is that significant or it is not significant? It also means that all the elected leaders belonging to the Azimio coalition also do not recognize the current regime. Let that sink in. Game-changing point number two. Raila announced that starting today, Azimio shall resist the current illegitimate regime. What does that mean? Well, in my opinion, Kenyans are about to find out, shallow Kenyan political observers are about to find out how true it is that politics is a game of numbers. And when you have such a huge number of Kenyans resisting something, do you want to tell me there will be no impact? Is that what you want to tell me? And there is something else. Part of that resistance, which Raila Odinga has already called for, is the resistance of taxes. Recently introduced taxes that are a major contributor to making the already very hard life for Kenyans even harder. It is interesting that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka of the WIB party, made a comment and asked loudly, what did Baba eat in South Africa? Because the Baba who has come is a different Baba. Of course, what he meant is that this new Baba is fire. For those of us who have been around longer, this is the Raila Odinga we have always known. Now, of course, there are those who are going to rubbish everything and point to the powerful state machinery. How do you fight the state machinery? My answer? This is not 1992. This is not the 90s. This is not Kenya under the old constitution. No. This is a new Kenya under the 2010 constitution. And what that means is that increasingly the government of William Samoei Ruto is going to find itself with fewer and fewer options, fewer and fewer cards to play in this new game. You see, One of the mistakes many analysts make is that they focus on Raila Odinga the man. Very few analysts have been able to identify Raila's real power. And yet it is so obvious. Let me take you back to 2017. In 2017, something happened that I believe many of us have still not understood. Remember the mock swearing in of Raila Odinga at Uhuru Park in January 2018? I need to ask you a very simple question. How did Raila Odinga get there? Was it Raila Odinga's idea to be sworn in as the people's president? Was it the idea of Raila Odinga handlers to have him sworn in as president, the people's president? No, of course not. Raila Odinga himself knew the futility of that move. So why did he turn up at Uhuru Park? Why was he sworn in? The answer to that question is pressure from his supporters. That's really what it was. Raila Odinga's real power is the huge, colossal pull of his supporters. 8.1 million plus who are in the country called Kenya. Can state machinery deal with the masses these people are talking about? Can it? If your answer to that question is yes, and if you're right, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. But just in case you're right, then and only then will I believe the remarks from Ruto today at the funeral of C.S. Moses Kuria's sister, where he said that he's going to easily fix Raila. What that means is also easily fixing his supporters. In my opinion, as a country, we're in a very dangerous position. Why? Because the reckless decisions we have seen from Kenya Kwanza, which are very predictable, those reckless decisions leading to reckless actions can easily be the spark that makes things get out of hand very quickly. You see, even apart from the decisions and the actions, the utterances of the leaders in Kenya Kwanza, the utterances of this regime by themselves are dangerous. Because we have already seen very clearly the strategy and style of Kenya Kwanza is to insult and mock the opponents. That may work at an election for University of Nairobi student leaders. It might just work. But national politics in Kenya today, with the mood in the country being what it is, can't work. I'm just surprised that handlers of this regime, thinkers of this regime, the think tank of this regime cannot see that. I am totally amazed. If I was Kenya Kwanza, I would start, first of all, by carefully measuring my words. Because I'm in power. People who open their mouths to say anything or to make careless remarks are not supposed to be people in power. No. Even in any political party in the world, careless remarks, mocking the opposition, insults, is usually how you expect the youth wingers of a party, the youth arm of a party, to behave, not the top leaders. Have you heard anywhere in the world where top leaders get involved in that kind of politicking? Please correct me. Please tell me which country Every time Rigathi Gachagua opens his mouth to make a remark, a huge chunk of the Kenyan population gets very upset by his remarks on both sides of the political divide. And the man we're talking about is not the Kenya Kwanza youth winger. No. He is supposed to be the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. So picture a situation, which should be reality very soon, if it is not already reality, where Azimio are stepping up their campaign, and then on the other side of the political divide, UDA and Kenya Kwanza are just making careless remarks, mocking and insulting. What do you think will happen? You tell me. Let's just use a little logic. What do you think is going to happen? And by the way, Raila Odinga has announced, he announced at Kamukunji, that there's another mega rally at the Jacaranda grounds this Sunday. Bottom line, Azimio are just getting started. Now very quickly, there was something else very significant that came out of Kamukunji. We were told that Azimio, and especially the Jubilee Party, are now going to follow up on all those politicians and leaders who lost elective posts under dodgy circumstances, implying fiddling of votes. Now I've covered this in a previous video, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, where I pointed out and gave examples, proving that it is not possible to fiddle with the presidential election without touching on other elective posts, women's rep, senator, governor, member of parliament, etc., etc. All those are impacted by whatever fiddling goes down. Now here's the very important point to note. These are individual leaders. A vast majority of them are very popular on the ground. So as people are looking at justice for Raila over the presidency, others will be joining in, looking for justice over various elective posts. And the Secretary General of Jubilee Party, Jeremiah Kioni, told us that a lot of that focus is going to be in the Mount Kenya region. I'm sure you can start to imagine what kind of impact that will have. It will just add momentum to this Azimio drive for Raila Odinga. You know, if you are to ask me for my honest opinion on all this, and to summarize it in one sentence, I think what I have to say will surprise most of us. And this is what I have to say. I am scared for Kenya. Why? Because, as I said earlier, as a country, we are in a very, very dangerous situation. And what makes it even more deadly is a government that does not see. It seems to have no idea about where we are as a country, and no idea about the looming danger. Remember, Kenyans are suffering. People have lost jobs. The cost of living is just crazy. Put all those factors together and you'll begin to understand what I'm saying. Bottom line, the road ahead is going to be very bumpy and very rocky. I am almost sure that the shock absorbers in the car that is called Kenya will not be able to take it. Something will have to give. I will of course keep you very much up to speed and I'll update you regularly. But before I go, allow me to give a clarification. The information in the weekly intelligence briefings, my weekly intelligence briefings, is highly sensitive. Any information you see in my intelligence briefings is highly sensitive. I have noticed a few people have been taking the information very lightly. And I know why. They don't understand it. Because to understand it, you also need to follow my videos on this channel. Now, I recently released weekly intelligence briefings number 94, 95 and 96 at the same time. WIB number 94 detailed for the first time the people who are behind what happened on August 9th of our presidential elections. And I cannot mention those people by name on this channel. Now, if you don't know who these people are, it will be very difficult for you to fully appreciate where we've reached as a country. It will be very difficult for you to analyze the chances of success of this new push by Azimio. In WIB number 95, I detailed the input of a very well-known Kenyan into these revelations that have come out from the whistleblower, into the whole game plan plus the execution in the Raila Odinga Azimio campaign, which has brought us to this place of the Kamukunji rally and the aftermath. Now again, if you don't have this information, it will be very difficult for anybody to understand why Jubilee's active role in Azimio is critical in the whole Raila Odinga game plan. To be brought up to speed, I highly recommend my WIBs. And I have a special offer that is soon coming to an end. I believe you can see details on your screens right now. I highly recommend that you go for it, because things are about to start happening very fast, and it's very easy for somebody to be left behind, confused, completely perplexed as to what is happening, so that you get reduced to a guessing game. And I believe that is the precise position political analysts for leading newspapers in the country recently found themselves in, when they, for instance, started predicting a handshake between Raila and Ruto. I think my parting shot is as follows. I strongly believe, and it is my opinion, that history will look back at this moment when Raila held the Kamukunji rally today as the moment when things in Kenya started to change, and to change drastically. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.